Hey everyone, welcome to the Youngstown Studio We Do Recover show. I'm sitting here today with my twin brother, Jeremiah. In the past shows, we've covered the addict and how the addict feels and how the addict recovers. Today, we're covering more of the family and what the addict put the family through. So we're going to cover today. I'm sitting here with Jeremiah. Jeremiah, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Hill, Jed Hill's twin brother.
Tell us a little bit about how it is being Jed's twin.
Oh, how much time we got in this show? Well, it started 36 years ago. I'm a minute older, and there's obviously a lot that comes along with that, maturity, looks, the whole 9 yards. But the reason I am a minute older is because they pulled me out first because I couldn't breathe because Jed's butt was in my face. So once they took me out, Jed's butt's been there ever since. I've been getting the back end of the deal on things. But no, it's awesome that God put us together. He knew through the situations in our life and all the stuff that we would go through that we needed a official teammate. So,
yeah, as a womb-mate, we say, right?
Yeah, twin skin, absolutely.
So you're a hero in this valley. You're a hero coming through. We know that you served in the Marine Corps. Tell us a little bit about why you joined the Marine Corps. Why was that your ambition?
Well, as a kid, I played with G.I. Joes, as you know. I always looked up to the military and a life of service. And it was more solidified when we were in high school, Struthers High School. When 9/11 hit, I remember in Spanish class watching the towers fall, and I wanted to make a difference and basically avenge the things that happened there, but also go into war. I knew there would be men going to war, and I wanted to do my duty because I didn't want other men going and putting their life in the line. Whether you believe in the war or not, there's young men that are there sacrificing everything, and I wanted to be beside them to help in any way I can. I joined the Marine Corps in 2004. I went to Parris Island for basic training, 3rd Battalion, India Company. After that, I went to North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, where I did infantry training. After infantry training, I was only a few guys that I wanted to stay over in the East Coast. That way, during a 72 or 96, I could go back home and see my family. Well, that didn't happen. They sent me all the way to Camp Pendleton, California, with just a couple guys because 1st Battalion, 1st Marines was deploying to Iraq soon, and they had to fill up their ranks. So it was pretty quick turnaround. Within 6 months of graduating School of Infantry, we were flying to Iraq. I landed in Iraq on my 21st birthday, and in the Marine Corps, when you have a birthday, you don't tell anybody. It's one of the things. A shower shoe, you take a shower shoe, slap your stomach till it's red, rather than the birthday spanking. So ixnay on that, so I didn't tell anybody. Landed there, did my full tour there with Charlie Company. Served a lot of brave men, some of the best men I know. It was a rough thing to get used to. Once you get used to it, time starts going quicker. But the last week over there before coming home, I was on a night patrol. We were doing a left seat, right seat with the other battalion coming in. We're showing them the AO, which is area of operation, and we hit an IED, which that wasn't fun. A triple stack of 155s put me in the hospital, and then once I got out of the hospital, I came home. I got married, as a lot of young Marines do, and I got pregnant with my first daughter, Hannah, who is now 13, which is insane.
Yeah,
you have a 13-year-old niece going into high school this year. Anyway, I got out of the hospital, and then I went to infantry squad leaders course, which my battalion put me up for with quite a few other guys. It starts off with like 70, 80 guys, and we graduated, I think, like 40, 41, 42. So it's a very intense course. One of my crowning moments there that I was very proud of, at the end of the course, which is very intense, all the guys get together and they vote who they would most want to go to combat with. It's called the Gung Ho Award. And I was very humbled that they voted me, that they would most want me to lead them in combat, which was a very humbling feeling because, you know, in the Marine Corps, I mean, there are some very tough guys, and to be voted that they trusted you enough to take them into combat was a very humbling experience. You get a K-bar, which is a fighting knife with your name on it. Anyway, they sent me back to 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. I got my own squad. We trained, went through another CAX, which is our combined arms out in 29 stumps, and we went back to Iraq. We went to the same area of operation around Fallujah, off MSR Mobile, Stitcher, and places like that. This time, a couple months into it, I was wounded again. It was normal patrol that day, went out, and once you're in combat for so long, you get almost a sixth sense. When I say that, you know when something bad's gonna happen. I was patrolling down the street. I remember birds weren't chirping, like everything was silent. You knew something was gonna happen. So I turned around, I gave the signal for dispersion to spread out for my guys, because if there was an IED, the further they are apart, the less casualties we take. And I remember something in my head saying, put your eye pro on, because we're supposed to wear eye protection 24/7. Well, I didn't have it on at that moment. But anyway, I put it on. And as soon as I put it on, I turned around. And when I turned around, I remember a warm feeling. I knew something was happening. And I thought it was the end. And I recognized in a split second it was an IED. And I remember one of the most peaceful moments in my life. I felt like 2 giant hands surrounded me. And now I know it was God saving my life, because I shouldn't have survived it. I stepped on 10 pounds of HME and I should have been dead. And I remember the most peaceful feeling in my entire life is when I felt 2 giant hands around me, squeeze me, and then I woke up and they medevaced me out. After they medevaced me out, there's a lot of feelings that go through your mind, because it's so intense. You're in there with the elite fighting force of our country, and then in a split second you're wounded, and then you're in a hospital, and then they medically separated me. I was in the hospital in and out for about a year, and then they medically separated me, which it was very hard, because my whole entire life I wanted to be a Marine. I wanted to be, serve our country. But once they took me out, going back home, and that's where a lot of times PTSD and that kind of thing, where you don't feel a part of anything anymore. You feel kind of maybe like a used up piece of meat, like you can't do what you wanted anymore, which my saving grace for the most part was my family and my kids. Just looking at my little girls, that was my new mission in life. And it was from there going on.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for your service. And I know everyone wants to say thank you for your service. But we talk about that sixth sense, right? Mm-hmm. I know that the time you got injured, I was at Penn State. And that day was like we were doing we had practice. I had the family up because we did a lift-a-thon. And that day I went back and, I was there with mom and dad and our brothers and was sitting there and I felt something. And I don't know if it was a twin sense or what. I felt something, and then we get a call from your platoon leader, from your sergeant, who called and said that you had been injured. And that moment was just like, you talk about that warm feeling. You talk about, it was just, I couldn't control myself. Tears. It was just like, I wanted to go there. I wanted to be with you. What's wrong with my twin? What's going on? You know what I mean? It was like that twin sense. People talk about, that's real. And I know it's real.
All the things we've been through.
Yeah.
Your little spidey sense, your twin sense. You know that there's something going on.
Right. And I want to talk about the moment. So Joe Paterno brought you to the game, and I hadn't seen you for over a year.
Yeah.
And warming up against Akron. It was our first game of the season. I haven't seen you for over a year. And then Joe comes and taps me on my shoulder and says, look behind you. And what did I see?
You saw me and my dress blues. I remember being back there when the team ran out, but seeing him run out to where you couldn't see me. And it was a surreal moment.
Yeah.
It almost wasn't real until you looked over, saw me, and once I would get to hold you, and give you a hug, and I know for you, because I've been through it, that once you can see them, then you notice, okay, well, he's here, he's alive. There's my twin.
I remember seeing you, running to you, giving you a hug, and tons of, we got the standing applause from 110,000 people. And then there was all these cameras and everything around us. And I remember you hugging me and you're like, bro, what do I do? I'm missing teeth, cause you got blown up and you're real and I was like, bro, don't worry about it. Just hug me. It was kind of like, it was surreal. And in that moment, I know, reading the papers, even the next day, seeing the front page, even war can't separate these twins was like surreal. And, going through that was, little did we know that the war was still going on, even though you had come home. And we fought through much more than just that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so now going through, you come back home, you have your kids, you have, you have Hannah, you have Noelle, and Natalie now, which Natalie is her birthday today, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. She's 11 years old. Okay. She's watching right now. So excited to get back to her party. But so when I originally came back, it was Hannah, Noelle, and myself, and I was married at the time. And then, went through some things in life and things happen. And then it was just me and the girls, Hannah and Noelle. But God knew what he had in mind, and he added to my family. He gave me a beautiful wife, Nicole,
Amen.
Who I married, and a beautiful stepdaughter, Natalie, which is her birthday. And also a very intelligent, I'm very proud of him. I always boast about him, Kevin Caldwell. He's a stepson, and he's more like a best friend. He's just one of those motivated young guys that you can't help but tell people about. He's once he got out of school, he paints bridges, and he's just a very self-motivated man, and very proud of him. So, but God added to my family after that, and then we went into our situation. So about our situation. So like, after Penn State and you moved home, like, after high school, we had been separated, right? You went to the war, I go to Penn State, and then you come home after the war. And then I'm in New York and LA, and, you'd always come out and surprise me. I mean, whether you drove 36 hours and you'd show up in my driveway, or we'd be there, we'd always had each other. Right. Yep.
And, so like, and then I get injured and then I move home. And that was like where this life that you never wanted for me started. What gave you the first clue about me being an addict, or me having a problem, when it stopped from being partying to actually Jed has a problem?
Yeah, well, that's a tough one, because when it originally, you notice a little bit of a mood thing, but as a lot of people know in families that have loved ones that are in addiction, addicts probably would be the best secret covert ops Navy SEALs ever, because they're so good at hiding it and hiding where they go, what they do, to where you don't really notice it at the beginning. There's something, but and then you hear, I would get messages from people, well, your brother's doing this, your brother's doing that. And you're like, oh, there's great haters, that kind of stuff. But where it really hit me and the severity of it was the first time where you called me from the hospital crying, and I'm like, what's going on? I overdosed, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, that's my twin brother who I was born with, who I love more than anything, and he was almost taken from me. And you feel guilty because you're like, man, why didn't I notice this before? What could I have done to change it? There's a lot of, on the family member side, or loved ones, there is a lot of guilt, because you're like, well, I can help fix this, or why wasn't I able to see it before this happened? But anyway, I remember when you called me, I came out there and picked you up and brought you back home. And I was like, okay, well, he's back home. He's with me. I see him. He's good. Same concept as when you saw me at the Penn State game, right, where you're like, hey, he's alive. He's good. He's went through this situation, but okay, I got him back.
Yeah.
But little did I know how much of a yo-yo mess with your mind situation it was going to be, because, you came home and then one night gone, you don't even know what's going on. Somebody picked him up and he was gone. And then, you don't get to hear from him. You don't get, phone calls answered. You don't even know what's going on. And that was the worst thing about it. And I know I probably haven't told you before, but when I would hear somebody or see a location on Facebook, or somebody that's, oh, I was with Jed last night, or over in Alliance or Salem or somewhere else, not to sound like a stalker, but I had to see my twin to make sure he was okay. So I would drive without telling you. I would drive to Salem. I would drive to Alliance, and that was the house where he was kind of at. If I could just see you, I don't need to. I know you probably don't want to talk to me in a second, but if I could just see your face and know you're okay, it would be a little bit better,
right?
And it happened at times where you did come home out of the blue. You're Mr. Out of the blue. It just, boom, there he is in the front door. Hey, what's up? How's it going? And you're like, hey, looks good. And that's one of the things with you going through addiction. I know a lot of people, like, you can see it, sometimes in their face or whatever. But with you, you never, for the most part, looked any different until you grew your hair past your shoulders. But you never looked any different. I just saw my twin brother who I loved, and I wanted to help. And there was times where literally when, after the overdose of one of many, or knowing that what you're on, where I literally want to go buy chains, tie you up in my back room and not let you go until you were better. Right. And obviously we can't do that, but I just thought if I could have him here at the house, if I could see him, I can help him. And that's where it's so hard, because a lot of times, besides praying for him and loving him, there's not much you can help. There's right. times where, hey, can I get some money? I give you some money, but down the road, I've come to realize, and even more towards the end of the addiction, when I did give money, I was like, that's probably going to drugs. Am I going to be the one that I gave him that last, 30, 40, $100 or whatever? And is that going to be the shot that's going to kill him? Am I going to contribute to my twin's death? Yeah. And that's the thing that messes with you so bad, is because, okay, I want to help him, but I am helping, but now I could be the one that's killing him. Yeah. And I know that's a lot of loved ones, when you see a family member struggling, you want to help, and I would say one of the best things would be is, help, maybe food, keeping the lights on, place to stay. But going through it myself, one of the worst things is giving straight out money, because addicts, for the most part, are going to use that for, I
would tell you any lie possible. I mean, I know there was times where my dog had cancer, or there was, man. I mean, there was, and these are truthful lies.
These are straight up truth. Yeah. I remember one that sticks out in my head. I'm driving in my truck and I get a FaceTime phone call from you. And you're like, hey, I'm down here, trying out for the WWE, because you were in WWE commercial before. They wanted you to be on there and that kind of stuff. But, after you're back home, with the addiction stuff, you're like, I'm down here in Florida. I'm, practicing for the WWE. I haven't got my per diem yet. Could you send me some money? I'm like, well, that can't be a lie. Come on. Right. WWE's already down in Florida. And we're on FaceTime. He's in a grocery store. I'm like, well, let me see around. And he's, showed me around a grocery store. I'm like, I don't notice that grocery store. Okay, well, he's probably telling the truth, right? Right. So, PayPal or whatever, send him money. But then you start thinking, well, inside a grocery store. And then finally I come to realize, once you tell me, it was like a store in like Akron or something, or right. Canton. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I didn't notice it. But the elaborate
rabbit hole lies. Yeah.
I after a while, I mean, I'm your twin and I could sense things at times, but I really did not know what was true from false. And I know that's a case with a lot of people that, go through addiction, and a lot of times they use the lies to cover up, being an addiction, so it's hard to even know what's going on. Yeah.
Going through that. So, so now we mentioned about me overdosing and how that made you feel. Yeah. And, I know for me, it was a shame of, calling you and letting you know. And when I told you, you were like, I already knew. Like, I don't know how you knew, Mr. Detective, but you knew every time I had overdosed. You knew every time that I had been in jail, even if I didn't want to call you. But like, what was it like the very first time when I got arrested? And I remember I called you from jail and I asked you to bond me out. And this was the first time. And the first time
I said, what's the address? I'll be right there.
Right.
And how fast was I there?
Yeah, I was out. I mean, I was out within hours. I was out, and it was off to the races again for me. And what was that like for you? I mean, because I would make promises to you on the phone, like, hey, listen, I got this. I'm good. That was my famous slogan. I got this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to do this. Let's do this. You were like, oh, I'm going to help you. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. And then I would get out and then be gone.
Yeah, no, that was, and that's where, I know we'll get into it a little bit later, where, your last stint where you were locked up in prison, right? I wasn't answering the phone call because I answered the phone call so many times before And it's not that I didn't want to hear your voice, you know, it's just, I answered the phone call so many times before, and it was listening to your plans, but your plans on getting out, not so much your plans on recovery, you know. But I would, this is my twin. I don't want him in there. I'm going to try to help out. And this time it's going to be different. You know, this time it's going to be different. This time it's going to be different. And there's so many times where yo-yo, you kind of get calloused up to where your trust, your whatever, the only thing really that kind of existed during that time was my love for you. That's what drove me to keep going, was my love for you, you know? And I know you said a lot of times, and I know other shows, and when you speak, you're like, well, you know, my different lives and my different lives are, you know, what I've done and here and that. But I really honestly look at our life more like a movie. Yeah. It's, you know, you got your love, you got your drama, you got your horror, and you got your sci-fi, because some of those lies, I'm telling you, those bad boys those were definitely fiction. But it was intense. And then to know that how close my twin brother was to death. And I know the feeling that, you know, you had when I was wounded, to where, like, I mean, you could have been dead, you know. But my most fondest moment was the last time when you called me from prison. I didn't answer probably 10, 15 times. And I'm telling you right now, it was one of the hardest things I did. You know, I had my wife in the car, and I'm like, I should answer. She's like, answer. I'm like, no, I can't answer, because if I answer, I'm not a gullible person. I really am not. You know, I pride myself on being smart and being able to maybe judge character or judge somebody's story, true or false. But when it came to you, I couldn't, because all I saw was love, and I want him with me, you know. But that time I just had to basically let you be alone with yourself and your thoughts. And when you were alone with yourself and your thoughts, what happened on that last time?
Wow. So, I mean, there was countless nights, and I would, you know, I got introduced to Narcotics Anonymous in these, in prison, you know what I mean? So, like, I would go in there and I would share about it. I'd be like, my twins didn't answer his phone. This is the relationship I want back. And I would cry about it. And every single day I would have guys come to me, hey, your twin answer your phone? Because they knew I was on the phones every time. At 4:15, I'd be on the phone calling you and waiting for you to pick up. And I know the instructor in there was like, hey, why don't you write him a letter? Write him a letter. So I remember sitting there and ripping the letter up several times. Like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. Because, you know, it was like, what do I even say? How do I even, you know, from like a, you know, Penn State to the state pen, this is, you know, I was so worried about what everybody would think about it, but it came down to the point where this is my twin brother. He's going to love me unconditionally, but I didn't know what to apologize for first. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, is this going to be an apology letter? Is this going to be, I got this letter? Is this how to go about it? So, like, I remember ripping up several times. I remember tears just like soaking the paper several times, and being so alone in that moment, you know, in days and weeks. And that's where I really sat down with myself, and I had to figure out, how am I going to get this? Mm-hmm. And that's where I reached out to God to save my soul. You know what I mean? Because without him, you know, we are nothing. A man without vision is dead, right? Yeah. So I really relied on him to carry me through this, because I know he's going to mend the broken heart, right? Mm-hmm. He promises that. He's gonna be there for us. He promises never leave us or forsake us. So right there, it's like, I'm not alone. So, and to mend the broken heart. And I knew the only way that I could mend my broken heart is to have you back in my life. So going through that and writing these letters to you. And I remember I wrote this letter to you, and I remember calling, seeing, hoping you got this. And you finally answered the phone.
I remember getting that letter. And this, mind you, this was the first time since Iraq that you wrote me. And I got that letter, and I was excited. I was like a little kid getting a letter from grandma on, you know, their birthday with money in it. Like, I was more, you know, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, what is it going to say? What's, you know, and when I read the letter, the sincerity of that letter, I knew this time was different, because there wasn't this big fabricated story on what I'm going to do when I get out, what this, what that is. Hey, I'm going to recover, and I'm going to do this for me, and you'll see through me. And that's one of the things with, you know, families that where their loved one's going through addiction, or is the addict has nothing to prove to us, everything to prove to himself. Because if you're trying to go off people's expectations of what you should be or how you should recover, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, because no one can ever live up to anybody's expectations. It's impossible, because somebody's always going to have higher and higher and higher. And when you don't live up to those expectations, you feel worthless. And I've seen it in you know, where and it's like, well, I failed. I'm worthless. Why am I even recovering? Why don't I just go back and then maybe eventually I OD, but whatever, I'm going to numb these feelings, you know?
Right.
But, and also, like I said, come at it with love, you know? Don't, when they're in recovery, or even when they're in their addiction, I know it's easy to do in our human minds to, well, you did this, you stole my truck. Well, he did steal my truck, but you know, he stole my truck, or he, you know, cussed me out here, or he never talked to me, or he took this, or, you know, he doesn't care about me anymore. He doesn't love me. But that wasn't the Jed that I was born with, that I grew up and spent every day with, that I admired. That wasn't him. That was the drugs talking. And there's a lot of people, they mistake for the drugs talking and that, you know, that altered state, they mistake that for who that truly is,
right.
You know, and come at it with love, remember who they are and who they can be, and encourage them, you know?
Was there, so in my addiction, obviously pain was always there, because I was, the lies and all that stuff causes pain. Right. And me not being there, I remember when I got out of prison and I got sentenced to CCA for those 3, and I hadn't seen you for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you, hugging you. It was a very emotional moment, like, you know, and you, I remember you telling me it wasn't about, you know, me stealing your truck. It wasn't about, you know, me taking money and never paying you back. It wasn't about all this different things. It was about the time that I robbed from you. That's what you were most hurt about. You know what I mean? And when you told me that, it really put me back. I took a step back and I was like, wow, like, this is like, he doesn't want the money back. He doesn't want, he's sad because the time that I
just wanted you,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you're my best friend, like you're my twin brother.
Right.
And that's all I wanted was you. And obviously I have to share you. After CCA, I remember Jed and I were, working together, doing some things. I remember, him, hey bro, met this girl. I'm like, are you sure you meet somebody right now? You're working on yourself, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, no, bro, she's something. You gotta meet her. So, you know, it was late night, because him and we used to drive over the road, and we met her at a gas station, and I met the female version of Jed. And
come on now,
you know, in an amazing way. The banter they have and the love they share together, and now the child they share together,
yeah.
My godson,
Jeddy Jr.,
is amazing to see. And that's one of the things I think that a lot of people that in addiction is to surround yourself with people, with a support group. And the support group you have, I mean, yeah, me, but the support group you have with your wife, I mean, she calls you out when you're wrong, she calls you out when you're right. But, you know, it's amazing to see the dynamic you guys have. It's encouraging. Like, you know, I love her like a sister. And you know, Valley's listening, I hope she is. You know, I want to thank you for what you've done for my brother and how you've helped him recover. You know, you were a driving force on giving my twin brother back, and I love you for that. But yeah, it's definitely been an adventure, and there's so many other stories that we can go into. I know when you said emotional moment, when I got that letter and I actually answered the phone call, I remember the first words you said were, you answered. And you started bawling, and I was bawling. I remember I was in Boardman Walmart parking lot. I had to get out of my truck, walk to the back of my truck on the phone, because one of those guys, I was Marine Corps or whatever. I don't want people to see me cry, but I bawled like a baby out there. I remember it was cold out and, you know, slushy snow, and all I could care about was just hearing you. And we couldn't hear each other because it was so garbled. We were both crying like little babies.
Right.
You know.
Oh man.
I knew this time it felt different from any other time before. And, you know, and you're like, hey bro, I'm gonna get better, you know, with God's help. And just the sincerity that you had, you could hear it in your voice, you know. And I know, going back a little bit, one of the things that always drove me nuts, and I know it does a lot of the families, is with Narcan, like, people posting on Facebook and that kind of stuff, people are like, oh, why are they using Narcan? Just, they're addicts. Just let them die. I used to get so upset because I'm like, you don't understand. Let them die. That's my twin brother. I love him. If it was your family member, maybe you would understand. But that's where people need to understand the addict's point of view. Everybody looks at it, oh, they're just out to party and look what happened to them now. That ain't the case. Have you actually sat down and asked, how did they get into their addiction? Maybe it was from an injury, or maybe it was from things that they were mental problems that they were trying to hide from when they're young. You don't know their situation. Don't judge them, But when I heard that, it killed me. I had a lot of people that, well, you just got to cut him out of your life. How do I cut him out of my life? He's my twin. I love him. We're born together. It's a cutting out a piece of my flesh. Like, how am I supposed to do that? And after a while, you kind of seclude yourself from other people. And I know a lot of people understand is because I don't want to hear what you have to say about my loved one. All right. I love him. I know who he is. I'm going to pray for him. And I know he can get better. I know it. And you're living proof sitting across from me. Yeah. And like some of the guys, and which has been very encouraging, is now that you work up to California Palms and helping the guys out, and head of emissions over there, and it's amazing to see you. I know a couple Sundays ago I walked through with you. You're waking the guys up for the rooms, doing your morning checks there, and just I didn't go in the rooms, but kind of just standing outside and seeing the banter that you had with the guys and the way they respected you. I know you're that hard guy and that kind of stuff, but the way they look up to you there is amazing. And also most of the guys there, they're recovering from addiction, but they're so talented. People think that addicts are just, okay, chalk them up, they're done, whatever, let's move on. What that old story, but these guys are some of the most talented, nicest, kindest, caring guys. We were driving them to church for, a long time until we got Hope, the church bus.
Hope bus.
Where, they're just the conversations we had in the truck, and how sincere a lot of people, former addicts in addiction, people in recovery, I'm telling you, some of the sweetest people I've ever met, and I'm proud to call a lot of them, my friends,
right. So like, we talk about recovery and what that looks like today. Right. But was there a point where you chalked me up? You were like, hey, listen, not necessarily chalk me up, but, plan for different things. Like, he's not going to make it. He's, he's too far gone. I love him, but I can't enable him anymore. Yeah. I have to protect my family, because there was times where you had to protect your family because I, was out there. I wasn't in my right mind. I was unreliable. You didn't know what I was going to do next. So, what would you say to someone about tough love and enabling?
That's a hard one. Tough love. First off, enabling, like I said, go back to the monetary money wise, I would recommend not giving him money, because like I said, that $100 you give him could be the shot that kills him, or even somebody else, one of their friends that they're using with. Tough love. The toughest love I think I had to use was, there was a time or two where I knew you were in the middle of addiction, where I couldn't have you at the house. As a father, as a husband, I did have to put my children first. And as any good father would, I didn't want, not that I didn't trust you, but I couldn't have that around. And honestly, a lot of the times the girls got sad. They love their Uncle Jed. Yeah. They absolutely love their Uncle Jed.
Those are my girls.
And that was hard to be like, I can't have you here right now. And I don't know if this time I said I couldn't have him here, is this the time where he can't go anywhere and he's gonna be on the street and, get picked up, or not even get picked up, or use or overdose, or feel like there's nobody there. It's such like I said, it screws with your mind so much, being on the other end, watching your loved one go through addiction, especially a drug addiction. There's a recovery process for that. And that's where I was, where one of the reasons, you had me on today, or, Friday when I speak, is, I want to speak to the families that first off, there is hope, but also there is support. It's one of the saddest most depressing things to watch somebody that you love so much go through this. And really, there's no manual on it. No. You know, everybody has a different idea of, well, if you do this, that'll help them. Or if you don't do this, and you're like, well, what's going to work? Every person is different, you know? But I know when you said planning wise, I remember putting money away because I was going to have to bury my twin. I really honestly thought that, and that killed me. You know, a few times I drive alone in the truck, listen to music, you know, some of the songs we listened to when we were younger come on, or, you know, we have our own songs, and just sitting there bawling. I'm not going to see my twin anymore. And almost preparing yourself for it, you know? And I don't want to say I lost faith, but it got hard. Yeah. It was hard to even imagine after being so long in addiction that I knew you could, I thought you could, but after a while you're like, is it ever going to happen? Is he ever going to be okay again? Is he ever going to be the Jed I know and love? I love him, but is he going to be the Jed I know who he can be? And I'm telling you right now, sitting across from me over there, he definitely is. Addicts do recover, and he's God's used him as a example for a lot of people to be able to follow that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited to have you speak at Recovery Night at Bridge of Hopes. That's the 7580 Glenwood Avenue this Friday night at 7 o'clock, because we want to cover all aspects of addiction. We want to cover, you know, obviously the addict and how we can get them help, but the family member suffers too, and we want to get them help too, because of them recovering together. Because having you in my corner through my recovery is what pushed me through. It gave me hope, you know what I mean? To see the dad you are to Natalie, Noelle, and Hannah, and to see that, and to see the husband you are, like, I wanted to be that. You know what I mean? I suggest if the circle of people you're hanging around with don't have something you want, or don't have something you inspire to be, you need to pick a new circle. Yeah. You know what I mean? So today I surround myself around with people I want to be like. And I want to be like you. Like, now that I'm a dad, like, I want to be a dad like you are. You know what I mean? I want to be able to have the rapport you have with your kids and love on them and be there. And now you're going to be the uncle that, you know, and that is just, I want to be that. So, like, that's why I respect you when I say you're my hero. Like, you're my hero, not just in the aspects of war. That alone is just incredible. But I'm talking about the aspect of life. You know what I mean? Being my beacon of hope, you know, when no one else would speak to me, no one else would talk to me, and then you being there, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, there was a time where you had to shut me out and let me hit my rock bottom, because everybody's rock bottom is different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just because it took me going to prison, losing everything and all that, it doesn't mean that you have to wait for that to happen. Your rock bottom could happen a lot earlier than that. You know what I mean? So I suggest for those people out there listening tonight, and if you are surrounding yourself around people you don't want to be like, or you don't see something in them you want to be, you need to get yourself a new.
As they say, you can't soar with the eagles if you're hanging around with chickens, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So, and so I wanted to be like you so much that we got houses next door to each other now.
Yep. We're back home in Struthers, and we literally have houses that our yard conjoins, and it's amazing. And obviously there's times where you lose hope. At times there is. Almost every family member that has a family member in addiction, you do lose hope. Yeah. You know. But I'm here today to tell you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there can be. Yeah. You know, the healing starts together, but, you know, support your loved one through recovery, and it can get better with the Lord and with a loved one that is supporting that person and not bringing up all, you know, their shortcomings. Because, hey, listen, we all got shortcomings. There's all stuff we do, you know, in our life that where somebody, you know, doesn't like. Yeah. Don't throw that in their face. You know, like it says in the Bible, greatest among these is love. Yeah. Show them love. Right. Because that's what kept us through. It's got us through war. It's got us through college football. It's got us through modeling. It's got us through addiction. I mean, it's got us through a lot in our life. Got us through childhood. I mean, and love is our saving grace. The love that we have for each other. I know that. That's it. So now today, not to hear anything else about myself, but what is it like today? I want to hear this. What is it like today looking at me now compared to looking at me 2 years ago? Because in January 14th, I celebrated 2 years clean and sober off any mind-altering substance. What is it like today having me back as a twin brother? You know,
anytime you call me, I answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being able to walk in my house and me being able to walk in your house again. Like, what is it like to actually have me back? Is it annoying? Is it, you know what I mean? Is it, you know what I mean? What is it like?
Well, definitely annoying. No. It's such a blessing. I can't describe it. There's times where I'm sitting at my house, you know, upstairs, even laying there, maybe can't sleep, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, my twin's a wall away.
Yeah.
Like I could look out that window and I could throw a rock at his house. Sometimes I do, but, you know, having him there and for so long, like you said, I mean, whether it be through war or, you know, our careers, different lives, you know, through addiction, there's times we weren't in the same country, same state, or even the same state of mind.
Right.
You know, and now we're both on that same path together. We're both fathers, beautiful children. We're both husbands.
Yeah.
And we're both trying to live for the Lord. You know, you inspired me through your addiction. You basically brought my faith back, because through, you know, the war, through, you know, divorce, there's been a lot of situations in life, and through addiction that really, it hardened up my faith. Like, and when I say hardened up my faith, I didn't even want to walk through a church door. I didn't want to pray. I didn't even know what to pray anymore. I love the Lord. I'm a Christian, but I was so downbeat. I didn't even know what to say. There's only one verse in the Bible. I know, I think it was maybe David prayed it, but you know, Lord, thou knowest. There's time I don't even know what to say. I just say, Lord, you know, God, you know, I don't even know how to put it into words, you know, and right now I'm starting to formulate those words and be able to communicate to you. But, it's a blessing. It's amazing. It's like the best gift you could receive in your entire life times 10, to have the person that you were born with, the person that you love back. And like Lazarus was raised from the dead, you know, my God raised you back to life, you know, because addiction is, you know, if you stay in it, is death. Yeah. You know,
so you went to the military and all that. What is one thing the military taught you to do, like you learned in the military, that helps you cope with the addiction part?
I would say two things: Semper Fidelis, which is a Marine Corps motto, always faithful, you know, always be faithful to that person. When I say faithful to them, faithful in love, faithful in support. Faithful doesn't always mean, you know, giving money and, you know, but one of the big things is be faithful to telling the truth. I know sometimes you didn't want to come around the house because, not that I got all crazy and yelling at you, but I'd be like, hey, Jed,
I couldn't hide it.
You couldn't hide it. I know there's something going on. I know, you know, whether if you're high or whether you're coming down off something or whether you're trying to go get some, for the most part, through the years of addiction, at the end, I did get better at seeing that, but was being faithful. And also another Marine Corps motto is no man left behind, you know, and I did not want to leave you behind. Yeah. And I thank God that he gave me the strength to go through that to where we could be at today. Yeah. You know, because it does take strength. It's not an easy process. And that's why I hope maybe in the Youngstown area, I know we have, you know, recovery for people that were in addiction, but I think that maybe we should have recovery for families that had members in addiction, because there is a recovery process, right? You know, building your trust back, basically unhardening your heart after a while, because you do have to harden it up for self-preservation, because there's times where you don't think you can even move anymore, breathe, you know, after everything, but there is hope, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. What is one thing through my addiction that I don't know you did, but you did, that I would thank you for today? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it's just, lay it out there.
Well, I know, you know, I never gave up. You know, I know that's one of them. That I did pray. There was times, like I said, I didn't know what to say, but there was times where I just, God, you know, because that's sometimes the best you can do is just put it in his hands. Yeah. You know, I know that I think you have a plan. I mean, a lot of times I'm a Christian, I'm a firm believer, God, you have a plan. But when you go through that for so long and you see your family members suffer so much, you do lose hope at times, you know, but knowing that he had a plan for you was amazing. And I know I said it earlier, but, you know, kind of being a stalker, just trying to see you, I know that was one of them. And also, like, you know, it's with you being in the limelight with college football and with modeling, I had people from other states and all. I'm telling you, my phone was blowing up with people messaging me. I had no clue who they were, you know, that, oh, well, he's fallen far from grace and that kind of stuff. And to hear people saying that to you, like, what do you say?
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's my twin. And most of the time I'd block him, or I'd be like, hey, listen, that's my twin. You don't know him, you know, because a lot of people think they know, you know, you from, you know, whether being on TV or magazines, you're like, oh, it's, you know, Jed, but you don't know the Jed I know.
Right.
And that's what I try to, there are a lot of times I really did feel alone through it. Whereas, and you don't know the Jed I know. There's people I know that said, well, if he passes away, you don't have to save up money. The government will bury him. I'm not going to let my brother have some pauper's funeral. That's my twin. We came into this world together, and if something happens and he dies, I'm going to do the best I can to people remember the Jed who Jed was, not who Jed through addiction was, you know?
Right.
But, I mean...
And that's the best thing about through addiction, like the way I live my life today, because I always felt like I had to, you know, impress people. Mm-hmm. Always felt, until I had all that taken away, everything taken away. Yeah. I started this new way of life with God, like with nothing to prove, nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Yeah. And like we talked about it with even Doug. He comes in and speaks to the Palms, and I want to live my life with an open hand today, right? We were talking last night. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of living with a ball up hand. I want to live my life with an open hand because I have nothing to lose, nothing for everything to gain today. And I think once you get to that point where you don't care necessarily what everybody thinks about you, as long as you surround yourself around the people you love and people that you want to inspire to be one day, like that's where your life like becomes peaceful, you know, because we all have to fill a void, right? We all have a void inside of us, and it just so happens I filled mine with drugs, and addicts fill theirs with drugs. But after drugs, like, what do you fill your void with? You know, I fill my void with God and with relationships, and you fill your void with different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you fill your void with today?
Well, I fill my kids, my family, Star Wars. No, I'm a big Star Wars nerd. Marine, but I'm, things like that. But, but mainly filling my void, with God, because there was a void there for so long. And, you're the reason that with your recovery and your inspiration that, I'm back in church, that I can sing and raise my hands again, rather than hang my head and not, in shame, but in just sadness, because it's a sad situation. But I'm telling you right now, once you see your person that's in addiction come out on the other side and they're back to who they were, there's no better feeling. There's no better feeling. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we're going to have this Friday night again, 7580 Glenwood Avenue, recovery night at Bridge of Hope. I'm excited. And I suggest people out there listening, bring somebody. If you know somebody that's suffering, if you know a family member that needs help with their addict son, daughter, friend, family member, come. Yes. Come get that peace, hear someone else's side of addiction, like who wasn't an addict but came through it, because they have to recover as well. So if you know somebody, bring somebody. 7580 Glenwood Avenue, 7:00. We have childcare available. My twin brother is going to be giving his story of what.
And there's a lot more that I didn't say today that I'm saving for Friday. A lot more. No.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have them come back in. We have a whole lifetime of memories and things we'll have to share with you guys. But listen, 7580 Glenwood Avenue, Bridge of Hope's Church, 7 p.m. Recovery night. We do recover. Has a family. So thank you so much for joining in tonight, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for me. Everything. I love you. We're out. So come on Friday night. We do recover.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.
All right, we are back for our second segment today. This is when you look at things.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.
Times when you look at things like